Holla, Nana Stumm hier auf dem Kanal Matriwissen und ich hatte euch versprochen, heute gibt es hier einen Einblick in den Vortrag von Genieveve Vaughan, den die auf der Tagung des Matriforums gehalten hat im letzten Jahr im Oktober. Ja, Genieveve Vaughan forscht seit Jahrzehnten zum Thema Schenkökonomie. Es gibt einen Salon, einen Online-Salon. Ich verlinke euch das unten. Und ich verlinke euch auch die Seite des Matriforums, wo ihr den kompletten Vortrag als PDF nachlesen könnt. Übrigens auch die anderen Vorträge, die bei dieser Tagung gehalten wurden. Also ja, ganz interessant vielleicht nochmal für die von euch, die da nicht dabei waren. Ich muss zugeben, gerade der Vortrag von Genieveve Vaughan, das kann man sich auch durchaus ein zweites Mal nochmal anhören oder in Ruhe durchlesen. Hier jetzt aber hört sie erstmal. Also sie spricht auf Englisch. Ich habe aber den Text daneben auf Deutsch eingeblendet. Viel Spaß.
Okay, my talk is titled The Maternal Species. I want to begin by saying that in trying to think our way out of the end of the world box that we are in, we have usually left out the maternal gift economy outside of the story. In order to show how to put it back and create a different paradigm, I will be discussing the differences and interactions between gifting and the process of exchange. I know that capitalism is wider and more complex than the act of exchange, but my main focus here is on the two processes, gifting and exchange. Human mothering establishes a multi-use pattern of unilateral giving and creative receiving that can be generalized and projected at many levels. It underlies much of what we do, and since it is so prominent and necessary for all in early childhood, it also informs and gives meaning to many of our experiences in later life. The importance of this pattern for Western patriarchal philosophy, psychology, and economics has largely been ignored by academia because, until recently, very few of the people who were doing the thinking in those disciplines had had the experience of mothering. I call mothering an economy because free is the most widespread way of creating subsistence on earth. In the maternal gift economy, the motherer, and that includes the birth mother and other people who are doing the job of mothering, and can include men as well. The motherer satisfies a child's need in an ongoing way, sometimes helped by other motherers, family members, or even whole villages. And if the child survives, it is because she has or he has received this free nurturing. She or he cannot pay back an equivalent in exchange for what she or he has received. And even if the motherers expect to be cared for by the child in their old age, the child does not know it. So for her or him, the care is free. If she is being nurtured by a paid caregiver, she does not know that either. Even when we are living in a market economy, we are surrounded with the free gifts of nature, of light and air, language, and sometimes the goodwill of others. I suggest that unilateral giving and receiving is the first and basic economic model for everyone, because without it we do not survive. Exchange, quid pro quo, negates the unilateral mode of production, direct transfer, and consumption of goods. Its strong logic contradicts transitive gifting and makes it seem illogical and uninformative. Instead, I propose that unilateral giving and receiving has a fundamental logic of its own that has not been recognized, but that underlies much of our thinking and behavior. The takeover of one economic mode by the other is a major cause of the huge problems our planet is now facing. Looking at maternal gifting as an economy changes the semantic field of economics. Eliminating the hegemony of the market from the concept lets us see both indigenous gift economies and market exchange economies as deriving from the maternal practice. Gift economies play out the mother-child relation of giving and receiving in various ways, while exchange economies contradict gifting and surreptitiously take gifts. Let me begin by mentioning a few of the characteristics of child development that have been revealed by recent scientific infancy research. The researchers do not address the unilateral provisioning of the child as such, but it is the background and premise of their study. The focus is usually on the child, not on the mother. In fact, I have read books about the developing child that, although they discuss our simian ancestors, our chimpanzees and so forth, they do not even ever specifically mention the human mother. Fortunately, there is now a field of study, interpersonal neurobiology, that emphasizes the mother-child dyad and the right brain to right brain syntony that happens during appropriate care. Alan Shore is one of the main proponents of this field. I don't have time to discuss much of this ever-widening field, but we'll just mention a few important moments of child development. These are joint attention, mind reading, and serve and return. First, though, I want to mention that there is a lot of reciprocal mirroring between mothers and children. Andrew Meltzoff says that children use proprioception, imitation, and self-other body mapping to understand the subjectivity of others and develop their own. He says, social cognition rests on the fact that you are like me, differentiatable from me, but nonetheless enough like me to become my role model and I your interpreter. This establishing of identity is carried out in various capacities modeled by motherers and learned by children. Mind reading is understanding what the other person is thinking in the sense of understanding her needs and intentions from her behavior. Joint attention is giving and sharing a perceptual gift, usually by pointing. Serve and return, also called proto-conversation, uses a metaphor of tennis to describe the dyadic back and forth interaction between mothers and children. Young children naturally reach out for interaction through babbling, facial expressions, and gestures, and adults respond with the same kind of vocalizing and gesturing back at them. This is from the Harvard Center for the Developing Child. This reciprocal interaction is credited with stimulating many of the 1 million new neural pathways that are formed every second in the brain of the developing child. Can you imagine? Although serve and return may sometimes be called an exchange, it is not quid pro quo. but a game of synchrony and communication. Unfortunately, I believe that together with the like-me relation, this important brain-building, relation-creating game is an infant precursor of commodity exchange, which is later inserted into this preformed mother-child interpersonal space, and thus it seems completely acceptable and natural. Marx says something like this in a footnote to his description of exchange. Correcting for the differences in age and gender, the similarities with the mother-child interaction are almost uncanny. He says, but in exchange, the logic of quid pro quo cancels the mother-child serve and return, giving and receiving interaction, and a quantitative like-me relation between commodities, or commodities and money, takes its place in the interpersonal space of exchange in the market. Even though gift and exchange are often confused, we don't notice the difference, and they are radically different and create opposite kinds of relationships. So what I want to say is that the exchange relation is inserted into a natural relation between mothers and children, and it distorts this whole gifting way of identity formation. All this has effect of backgrounding mother-child unilateral giving and receiving, and hiding its continuing presence and generalization. Because exchange is in the foreground as necessary for life, gifting is backgrounded and seems dependent and unimportant, even infantile. However, it is the basic human interaction and source. Gifting is the healthy root of human life, of a maternal species that has been infected by a false logic that contradicts it. Free giving continues to happen, and it is diverted towards capital and capitalists through the exchange mechanism. So let me quickly first describe some characteristics of unilateral giving and receiving. We can give and receive one-to-one, one-to-many, many-to-many, an almost infinite variety of things. The giver reads or mind reads the needs of the receiver and gives an appropriate need-satisfying gift. Receiving is not passive, but active and creative. For example, even the child nursing at the breast has to suck at the nipple, swallow, and digest the milk. We can also receive many different kinds of things, together with others or apart. Unilateral giving gives value by implication to the receiver and to the means of giving, the things that satisfy the needs. There is an attribution of intrinsic value to the child. If the child had not been valuable to the motherer, she would not have satisfied her needs. The child receives this implication with a feeling of self-esteem. Mother and child are merged when the child is in the womb, and they re-merge in gift interactions of breastfeeding, holding, and carrying. This and the identification and satisfaction of the child's needs by the mother creates a knowledge of the existence of the other for both mother and child. No solipsism is possible. And I have to say also that the mother needs to understand when the child doesn't need to get a gift. And so that not giving a gift in a moment and letting the child be independent is also a gift. There is a trajectory of the gift from giver to receiver in many different instances. An object is given from hand to hand. The baby herself experiences being given from hand to hand for someone else to hold. Serve and return is turn-taking in giving and receiving smiles and babbles. The giving-receiving trajectory is grounded at both ends by similar sensations, mirror neurons, and mind reading. In breathing in and out, we feel receiving and giving in our own bodies. In nursing at the breast, both baby and mother feel the giving and receiving of the self and the other. With mirror neurons, they register each other's experience. In joint attention and reciprocal mind reading, gaze following allows us to see that the other sees what we see, that she receives the same perceptual gift. With gaze following, we see the trajectory of the gift at both ends, for the other and for us, so that we receive a triangulated perception in common. On the other hand, in exchange, we do not feel or even see the receiver or the initiator of the trajectory of the product that we sell or buy. There is a transitive logic, a syllogism of the gift. If A gives to B and B gives to C, then A gives to C, and so on. This is a community-creating logic of gifts that go around, studied in anthropology, for example, in the Trobriand Island Kula Ring. There is also giving forward to unknown others without knowing what the effect will be, and this can also create community relations with gifts going around. In fact, this giving forward could be called recursive giving because the act of giving is repeated with the same or different gifts and givers. Unilateral giving is basically alter-centric, other-oriented. It satisfies needs at many levels: physical, cognitive, communicative, needs for comfort and cleanliness, needs caused by fear and distress, needs for right timing, companionship, play, and many others. Unfortunately, there is also giving to harm. For example, hitting crosses the interpersonal space, as does the gift, but it hurts the receiver. This variation on the gift has been a major instrument of patriarchy. Both Marx and Sohn-Rethel saw exchange process as canceling the use and the materiality of the object, and that was the reason for its abstraction. Marx says, not an atom of matter enters into the objectivity of commodities as values. In this, it is the direct opposite of the coarsely sensuous objectivity of commodities as physical objects. I propose that it is not just the materiality of the object that exchange abstracts from, but the economy of the gift. Like so many others, Marx and Sohn-Rethel did not grasp the specific character and importance of women's free labor in the home, or see it as a different kind of economy. When we name it and put it into discussion, we can see that what exchange abstracts from is not just the materiality of the object, but the previously existing free economy of mothering, being mothered, that has a basic structure of its own, which is replaced by commodity exchange and everything that is built upon the logic of exchange. We are so used to the logic of exchange that we take it as the basic paradigm, and we don't look behind it at the previous and still existing logic of the unilateral gift. Even though we participate in capitalism, many of us have experience outside of it as mothers and children. experience that is not determined by the exchange abstraction and is consonant with the maternal economy. Many men do not have much of this experience. By not taking gifting into account, the analysis of commodity exchange and money separates itself from the domestic sphere and makes it aneconomic, not economic. But unilateral giving is the first economy, and it is the ground from which the exchange economy deviates and in which it is embedded. Thus, the discipline of economics, which does not understand this, mainly exacerbates the problem. In fact, all of the unpaid labor and resources that are visible to a critique of capitalist economy, that is, all of exploitation, can be seen as the taking of free gifts, so that capitalism can be seen as nurtured by the maternal gift economy. Making this visible is a key to changing it, so it is not surprising that the unilateral maternal economy has been programmatically unseen, hidden in its importance, made to appear inferior, unreal, or saintly, and women kept in the household barefoot and pregnant by dominant husbands. We pull a veil over the gift, a veil that is made of categorizations, false descriptions, and names like the domestic sphere, domestic slavery, women's biological destiny, feminine essence, and for the child, immaturity and ignorance. Thus, we're giving to exchange one more gift, the gift of the gift's effacement, while the market is foregrounded as real and necessary. The maternal gift economy is nurturing its oppressor, a gremlin Wetico economy. We desperately need to name and describe the maternal gift economy objectively and make it visible.
Ja, die Schenkökonomie beschreiben, benennen, sichtbar machen, da haben wir doch noch einiges zu tun. Ein herzliches Dankeschön an Genieveve Vaughan, die das seit so vielen Jahrzehnten wirklich massiv vorantreibt. In diesem Kontext fallen mir auch ein Maria Mies, Veronika Benhold-Thompson und Claudia von Werlhof, die in den 80er Jahren war es, glaube ich, ganz viel zu diesem Thema auch schon geschrieben haben, also wirklich auch zu dritt publiziert haben und die es damals nicht Schenkökonomie genannt haben, aber ganz klar benannt haben, wie das Patriarchat auf der kostenlosen Arbeitsleistung von Frauen sich aufgepfropft hat. In der nächsten Woche gibt es hier einen Text von Maria Mies zur Subsistenz. Ein wunderbarer Text aus ihrem Buch Das Dorf und die Welt. Maria Mies, die ja im letzten Jahr verstorben ist, wird also in der nächsten Woche hier endlich mal posthum zu Wort kommen. Bis dahin, sei laut und sei leise, sei Schatten und Licht, sei albern und weise und fürchte dich nicht. Holla.